My brother's ex-wife met me at the roadside diner, then whispered, "Nathan is outside my house." Part 1. The neon sign outside the county line diner kept flickering against the rain, turning the window beside my booth red, then black, then red again. I had been sitting there with a cold cup of black coffee long enough for the waitress to stop asking whether I wanted a refill. The place smelled like old grease, wet pavement, and burnt grounds. A tired truck driver sat at the counter with his shoulders rounded over a plate of eggs. The cook's radio hissed from the kitchen. Beyond the glass, the parking lot shone under the streetlights like dark foil. Out of habit, I had already counted the exits. Front door with the brass bell, kitchen door leading to the alley, side fire exit half blocked by stacked high chairs. It was not paranoia, it was training. 3 hours earlier, I had talked a desperate man down from a bridge in the rain. Crisis negotiation leaves a strange silence afterward. The radio goes quiet, the paperwork starts, and the body finally notices it has been holding tension for too long. Some nights, I went home. Other nights, I stopped at places like this and let cheap coffee burn the edge off the adrenaline. Then the bell over the door snapped open. Elena Morgan stepped inside. For 1 second, I did not move. I had not spoken to my brother's ex-wife in 3 years, not since the divorce, not since Nathan Reed packed his charm, his temper, and his talent for making people doubt themselves into a moving truck and left a clean-looking wreck behind him. Elena did not look like a woman stopping for coffee. Rain darkened the shoulders of her jacket. Her dark hair clung in loose strands around her face. One hand gripped her phone so tightly the screen lit against her palm, went dark, then lit again. She looked at the parking lot first, not the counter. Then she saw me. She crossed the diner fast and slid into the booth across from me. Her fingers landed on the Formica table, flat and stiff. "Nathan is outside my house," she whispered. The words were quiet, but they changed the room. I set my coffee down carefully. Where exactly? At the end of my driveway, black sedan, no headlights. Her eyes flicked toward the window even though we were miles from her street. "He texted me a picture of my front door 30 minutes ago." I placed my phone on the table but did not touch hers. "What does he want?" "My company?" Her voice stayed low. "He fabricated 3 years of financial ledgers from my design firm. He sent screenshots tonight and said if I don't sign over my 50% share by midnight tomorrow, he'll send the drive to the IRS, the state licensing board, and my 3 biggest corporate clients." There it was, leverage, deadline, isolation. Nathan had never liked losing control, and Elena had been the one person who made a life after him look possible. Her commercial design firm had grown after the divorce. New clients, new office, her name on contracts he no longer touched. Now he was trying to turn her success into evidence against her. "Why come to me?" I asked. She pushed her phone across the table. A message glowed on the screen. "Come home alone, no police, no lawyer, no games, midnight tomorrow, or I send everything." Another message beneath it showed her front door through a windshield. Her voice dropped further. "My attorney is on a flight until morning. My client contracts have reputation clauses. If those files hit their inboxes tonight, I lose the accounts before I can prove they're fake. If a cruiser pulls into my driveway, Nathan said he hit send." I read the messages twice, then looked at her hands. They had stopped shaking, not because she was calm, but because she was forcing them still. "I'm not here as Nathan's brother," I said. "If I help, it is as a crisis negotiator and a witness. I will not threaten him. I will not break the law. I will not make choices for you. You decide how far this goes." She nodded once. "I need the words, Elena." "Yes," she said, "I want your help." I slid the phone back to her. "Then we start by getting you safely home, documenting the threat, and removing the midnight clock from his hands." Outside, rain struck the glass harder. For the first time since she sat down, Elena took a full breath. I left cash under my coffee mug, nodded to the waitress, and stood. Elena rose with me. I did not touch her back. I did not hurry her through the room. Panic narrows people's choices. My job was to give hers back one step at a time. In the parking lot, she unlocked her car with stiff fingers. I'll follow you, I said. 2 car lengths, no racing. If the sedan is still there, you do not get out until I'm parked behind you. She nodded and got in. The drive to her neighborhood was quiet except for rain and wipers. I followed the red taillights of her sedan through the slick county roads, watching her mirrors. Twice. Her head tilted as if checking whether I was still there. Each time, I stayed exactly where she could see me. Her cul-de-sac sat behind a line of wet maples and expensive porch lights. The black sedan was there. No headlights, engine running, one silhouette behind the wheel. I slowed before the turn and clicked my high beams once. White light washed over the sedan's plate, the driver's profile, the windshield. The vehicle jerked forward, tires hissing over the wet curbside, then took the corner too fast and vanished down the main road. I did not chase. Nathan wanted a reaction. A chase would give him one. Elena parked in her driveway with both hands still on the wheel. I pulled in behind her, angled my truck so it blocked the direct line from the street, and stepped out into the rain. Wait, I called. She waited. She unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and reached for the deadbolt. Lock it, I said, then add the chain. Her hand paused. You're not coming in? Only if you invite me in and only for the safety plan. She looked at me through the rain-dark doorway. Something in her face shifted. Not relief exactly, but recognition. Come in, Logan. The house smelled like vanilla candles, drafting paper, and rain-soaked wool. A roll of blueprints sat on the dining table. Fabric samples lay in neat stacks beside a laptop. The place had the warm, ordered feel of a life someone had rebuilt room by room. Nathan's texts looked uglier against it. Part 2. I took off my wet jacket by the door and placed it over the back of a chair instead of dripping through her hallway. Call your attorney's office. Leave a message authorizing me to speak only about the immediate threat and evidence preservation. Then text Wyatt Carter. Wyatt? My digital forensics contractor, not law enforcement. He can mirror your phone and help trace metadata. We keep everything clean, documented, and useful. Elena unlocked her phone. What do I say? Say the truth. Nathan threatened to distribute fabricated financial documents unless you transfer company shares. You are preserving evidence. You want counsel notified as soon as possible. She typed, her thumb stumbled once, then corrected. While she did that, I took out a legal pad and wrote the time at the top. Do you have tea? I asked. The question caught her off guard. Tea? Warm cup, steady hands, then evidence. She gave a short, almost disbelieving laugh. Cabinet left of the stove. I found chamomile, filled the kettle, and set 2 mugs on the kitchen island. I kept every movement slow and visible. People in acute stress notice sudden motion more than words. The kettle began to hum. Rain tapped against the dark kitchen windows. Her phone buzzed. Nathan. The name lit the room colder than the rain. Elena looked at me. Do I answer? Do you want him recorded? Yes. We record only the call you are part of and only for evidence preservation. I'll state my name. You can end the call at any time. She pressed speaker. I set my recorder beside the phone. Nathan, I said, it's Logan. There was a pause long enough to hear his car engine in the background. Why are you answering her phone? Because Elena asked me to be present as a witness. A breath hissed through the speaker. This has nothing to do with you. You sent Elena a demand tied to company shares and threatened distribution of financial files. I am calling to establish a clear communication record. You always did love sounding official. I'm requesting a 48-hour extension so her counsel can review your proposed transfer. She does not need counsel. She does if you want the transfer to survive scrutiny. Silence. I let it stay. Negotiation is not about filling every gap. Silence makes people hear their own choices. Nathan came back sharper. She has until tomorrow night. No extension. If you force a deadline under threat, the transfer becomes easier to challenge. If you want the shares, you want process. Another pause. In the corner of my eye, Elena stood still with one hand on the island. The kettle clicked off behind her. 48 hours, Nathan said at last. Then she signs, or everyone sees what she really is. The line went dead. I saved the recording and placed the file name on the legal pad with the exact time. Elena stared at the phone. he agreed. He adjusted. That means pressure works both ways. I poured tea and slid the mug toward her. She wrapped both hands around it. The steam rose between us, softening the kitchen light. For 1 minute, no one spoke. The house ticked and settled around the storm. Elena looked down at the mug, then at the legal pad, then at her phone. He made me feel like everything was already over, she said. I uncapped my pen, then we document that it isn't. Wyatt arrived 30 minutes later with a black laptop case, a rain jacket, and the expression of a man who preferred servers to people. He nodded to Elena, shook my hand once, and went straight to the dining table. I need the screenshots, original texts, email headers if there are emails, and any file names visible in the images, he said. Elena hesitated at the word headers, then lifted her chin. Show me where to find them. Wyatt glanced at me. I gave him a look. He turned the laptop toward her. Here, you click this arrow, then show original. Don't worry about the code. We're looking for time, source, and routing. For the next 2 hours, Elena did not fall apart. She sat at the dining table in a dry sweater, hair clipped back, sleeves pushed to her wrists, and worked through every message Nathan had sent. Wyatt copied. I logged. Elena labeled each threat with dates and context. When a screenshot of fake ledger pages appeared, she leaned closer and froze. That number is wrong, she said. Wyatt stopped typing. Which one? This withdrawal. She tapped the screen. $40,000. October 12th. Nathan used to get dates wrong when he was rushing. I was in Chicago that week speaking at a design panel, and my corporate card had been frozen because of a fraud alert at the hotel. You have that record? I asked. In the office file cabinet, bank letter, travel itinerary, panel contract. I looked at Wyatt. He was already reaching for a sticky note. That is useful. For the first time all night, Elena's mouth curved. Not a full smile yet. The beginning of one. I found the crack, she said. You did, I said. The tea had gone cold beside her hand, untouched after the first few sips. The mug had done its job anyway. It had given her fingers something to hold until her work could take over. By 3 a.m, Wyatt had mirrored her phone, copied the threats, and built a clean evidence folder with read-only backups. He sealed OneDrive in a tamper-evident bag and sent an encrypted copy to Elena's attorney's office. Wyatt left with the evidence bag under his jacket. I stayed on the living room sofa with my laptop open and the front windows in view. Elena stood at the bottom of the stairs with a folded blanket in her arms. There's a guest room, she said. I'm staying down here. Because of the doors? Because of the doors. She walked over and set the blanket on the armrest. You always make everything sound like a procedure. Procedures are just promises with checkboxes. This time, she smiled. It lasted only a second, but it warmed the room more than the lamp beside the sofa. Thank you, she said, for not making this feel like another debt. I closed my laptop halfway. You don't owe me for being safe. The sentence landed quietly. No speech, no grand comfort, just a line placed where Nathan had spent years erasing lines. Elena's fingers brushed the blanket once. Good night, Logan. Good night. She went upstairs. I listened until the floorboards stopped creaking, then turned my phone face up beside the recorder. The house settled into rain and low light. I did not sleep much, but nothing came through the door. Part 3. Morning arrived gray and clean. The smell of coffee reached me before the light did. I opened my eyes to find Elena in the kitchen, pouring water over a French press with the focus of someone measuring more than grounds. On the island sat a bank folder, a Chicago conference badge, and 3 printed emails. You were busy, I said. I couldn't sleep after 5. She placed a mug near me. Black, no sugar. I remembered you took it that way. 3 years is a long time to remember coffee. Some details survive bad marriages. There was no bitterness in it. Just fact. I took the mug and sat across from her at the dining table. Wyatt had sent his preliminary report at 5:42 a.m. The IP data from 2 of Nathan's uploaded screenshot links pointed toward a residential router registered to his apartment. Not proof alone. Enough to build pressure. Enough to support the ledger inconsistencies Elena had already found. She spread the bank letter flat with both palms. This proves the corporate account was frozen from October 10th through October 17th, she said. The fake ledger shows a withdrawal on the 12th. Can Nathan claim an alternate account? No. The ledger uses the main operating account number. He copied the format from old records. And your Chicago panel? She slid the contract over, time-stamped, paid by the organizer, with photos from the event. I read the documents and nodded. This is not just a denial. This is impossibility. Elena leaned back, and the chair creaked softly beneath her. She looked at the papers. Not me. Last night, I thought I was going to lose everything because he said so. I tapped the bank letter. Now the paper says something back. Her smile came easier this time. By noon, her attorney had called from the airport, angry in the useful way lawyers can be angry when the facts are finally organized. By 2. Wyatt had traced the source files to a cloud folder Nathan had used before. By 5, the attorney had drafted a cease and desist letter and a preservation notice warning Nathan that deleting or distributing the files would strengthen the case against him. Nathan called at 6:17. Elena looked at the phone, then at me. Your call, I said. I want to answer. Then you answer? I sit here. Your attorney is on the line. Wyatt is recording the technical log. You can stop any time. She pressed speaker. Nathan, she said. For a moment, there was only static. You brought lawyers into this, he said. I preserved evidence. You think that saves you? I think it stops you from deciding what happens next. His laugh came out thin. Southside Diner, 9 tonight. Bring the signed transfer agreement, or the files go out at 9:01. Her eyes closed once, then opened. No, she said. The word was quiet. Nathan did not seem to understand it. What? No, I will meet you at 9 with counsel notified and a witness present. I will not sign anything under threat. You show up with Logan, and I send everything. I leaned closer to the phone, but Elena raised one hand. She wanted the line. If you send those files, she said, you send forged records that already conflict with bank documents, travel records, and metadata tied to your account. That choice is yours. Nathan's breathing sharpened through the speaker. Then he hung up. Elena's hand lowered to the table. The room stayed still. That was good, her attorney said through the laptop speaker. Elena looked at me. I nodded once. Not because she needed approval. Because she had earned witness. We spent the next 2 hours preparing without drama. That is how real danger is handled when everyone in the room is done being impressed by it. Elena printed the bank freeze letter, the Chicago panel contract, the hotel fraud alert, and the metadata summary. Wyatt prepared a 1-page technical note written in human language instead of server language. Her attorney stayed on video while Elena read the cease and desist letter aloud once, stumbled on one sentence, then read it again until her voice no longer caught. I made a diner map on a blank sheet of paper. Elena looked at it and shook her head. You really did count all the exits last night. I count exits in grocery stores. That must make dates fascinating. I have been told it narrows the field. The smile came back, fuller now, then faded into concentration as she pointed to the booth I had chosen. This one gives Nathan a clear path to the door. Yes. Why give him that? Because cornered people escalate. I want him to know he can leave. She looked down at the map for a long moment. Nathan never gave anyone a clean exit, she said. Then we win by doing what he won't. Before we left, Elena stopped at the kitchen island and looked at the chamomile mug from the night before. I don't want to be the person who needed tea before evidence, she said. I picked up my black coffee from the counter. You were the person who found the impossible withdrawal at 3 a.m. She looked back. One does not cancel the other. The rain had stopped, but the streets still shone black. We drove separately again, not because she was alone, but because she wanted to arrive in her own car. That mattered too. Part 4. The Southside Diner was brighter than the county line place and uglier in a useful way. Too many windows, too many cameras, too many witnesses for Nathan to enjoy himself. We arrived at 8:45. Elena chose the booth herself, back to the wall, sightline to the door. I sat across from her, not beside her, with my recorder visible and my hands folded around a paper cup of black coffee. Her folder lay between us, corners aligned with the edge of the table. At exactly 9, Nathan walked in. He looked smaller than I remembered. That was not because he had changed. It was because Elena had... He scanned the diner, found us, and his face hardened. I sat alone. He said when he reached the booth. Elena opened her folder. "Sit down, Nathan." He looked at me. "You really want to make this a family war?" "No," I said. "I want you to stop committing crimes in diners." Elena shot me a look that almost became a laugh. Nathan did not sit. "I can hit send from right here." Elena placed one page on the table. It was the bank freeze letter. "You listed a withdrawal from an account that was frozen on that date," she said. Another page. "My travel records put me in Chicago." Another page. "Your screenshot metadata links the file generation to a device and network connected to you." Nathan's eyes moved over the pages, fast at first, then slower. "Fake," he said. "No," Elena said. "Yours were..." He reached into his coat. My voice stayed low. "If you take out your phone to distribute those files, this stops being a threat and becomes a clean evidence trail. Elena's counsel has the documents. Wyatt has the technical packet. I have your recorded deadlines. You can choose that path. I would not recommend it." Nathan's hand stayed inside his coat. The waitress passed behind him with a pot of coffee. A couple at the counter glanced over, then looked away. "Public places are strange things. They make cowards angry and angry men careful." Elena slid the last paper forward. "This is a cease and desist letter. This is also your notice to preserve every device and account used to create or threaten distribution of those files. If anything disappears after tonight, my attorney will know exactly where to start." Nathan finally sat. The vinyl seat sighed under him. "You think you won?" he said. Elena capped her pen. "I think you're finished using my fear as a business strategy." His face changed then. The mask slipped, and behind it was not power, only panic. "You were nothing before me." Elena did not flinch. The coffee machine hissed behind the counter. Neon buzzed in the window. Rain moved in silver lines down the glass. "I was quieter before you," she said. "That is not the same thing." Nathan looked at me, searching for his brother, for old loyalty, for any crack in the room. I gave him none. He pulled a small silver drive from his coat pocket and placed it on the table. Elena did not touch it. "Slide it to the center," I said. He did. I took an evidence sleeve from my folder, opened it, and let him drop the drive inside without my fingers touching his. Then I sealed it, wrote the time, and placed it beside Elena's documents. Nathan signed receipt of the cease and desist letter with a hand that pressed too hard into the paper. When he stood, no one stopped him. At the door, he turned back once. Whatever he saw in Elena's face made him leave without a final word. The bell above the door rang behind him. For several seconds, the booth stayed quiet. Then Elena placed both hands on the folder and lowered her forehead almost to the table, not collapsing, just letting the fight leave her body in pieces. I pushed my untouched coffee toward her. She lifted her head and looked at it. "That is terrible diner coffee." "It has procedural value." "What procedure?" "Reminding us we survived long enough to complain." She laughed then. Not much, not loudly, but enough that the waitress looked over and smiled without knowing why. "We did not drive straight home. Elena's attorney wanted the drive placed in a courier lockbox for morning pickup, and Wyatt wanted photos of the seal under clean light. So we went to Elena's office." Her design firm occupied the second floor of a restored brick building downtown. Samples lined the walls. Model rooms sat behind glass. Desks waited in neat rows for employees who would arrive tomorrow without knowing how close their paychecks had come to a cliff. Elena unlocked her private office and turned on the lamp. The room glowed warm around blueprints, client boards, and framed photographs from completed projects, hotels, offices, a library, spaces she had made useful and beautiful for strangers. She placed the evidence sleeve in the lockbox herself. Then she took out her phone and sent a message to Mara. "Morning meeting at 9. Everything is fine. I'll explain what you need to know. No one's job is at risk." She showed me the message before sending it. I nodded. She pressed send. That was the moment the victory became practical. Not the drive, not Nathan leaving, not my recorder or Wyatt's logs. That message. Her company was still hers because she had decided to lead it in the morning. Part 5. By the time we returned to her house, the rain had thinned to a mist. Porch lights glowed along the street. Nathan's sedan was gone. The driveway looked like a driveway again, not a threat. Inside, Elena locked the door herself. Then she turned and leaned back against it, eyes closing for one long second. I gathered my recorder, legal pad, and laptop bag from the living room. Wyatt will run one more sweep in the morning. Your attorney has the timeline. Nathan has been put on notice. You should be safe tonight. She opened her eyes. You're leaving. The immediate threat is handled. And if I ask you not to leave because I'm still scared. I set the laptop bag down instead of lifting it. Then I sit on the porch or in the living room, wherever you choose, and we keep the same rules. Door open, lights on, no confusion. Her expression softened in a way that did not ask for rescue. Thank you for saying that. You have had enough people turning fear into permission. She looked toward the kitchen. The chamomile mug from the night before still sat near the sink. The legal pad was on the island. Her house no longer felt staged for a crisis. It felt tired, used, real. She walked to a small hook by the door and took down a spare brass key. For a moment, she only held it. I'm not giving this to you tonight, she said. Good. A small smile touched her mouth. Good? Tonight has too much adrenaline in it. That sounds like something a negotiator would say. It is. And Logan. I looked at her. She placed the key on the small table by the entryway. Not in my hand. A choice left for daylight. Come back tomorrow morning as Logan, she said. Not as the negotiator. Coffee at 8, door open, my choice. The house hummed softly around us. Refrigerator, clock, rain in the gutters, ordinary sounds, returning one by one. I can do that, I said. She nodded, and this time there was no trembling in it. I slept that night in the living room chair because she asked me to stay until morning and chose the place herself. The lamp stayed on. My laptop stayed closed. Her bedroom door stayed shut upstairs. Nothing about it felt blurred or borrowed. At 7:58, I woke to the smell of coffee. Elena stood in the kitchen with 2 mugs and tired eyes that looked clearer than they had at the diner. Black, no sugar, she said, setting mine on the island. You are consistent. I'm learning from procedures. On the entry table, the brass key still waited where she had left it. Neither of us reached for it. Not yet. Some boundaries deserved daylight, and some beginnings did too. At 9. Mara arrived with 2 project managers, all of them carrying laptops and expressions that tried to be brave. Elena met them in the conference room at her office, not at home, not in hiding. I stayed outside the glass wall with Wyatt, reviewing the final device sweep. Through the glass, I watched Elena speak. No raised voice, no dramatic gestures. She handed each person a short written summary approved by counsel. She told them the firm had been targeted by attempted fraud, that no client files had been compromised, that payroll and contracts were secure, and that any external communication would go through the attorney. Mara read the page, then looked up. What do you need from us? Elena's shoulders moved with one steady breath. Keep designing, she said. It was the best answer in the room. That evening, I went back to her house because she invited me for coffee in the kitchen, with the porch light on and the curtains open. The brass key still sat on the entry table. She did not mention it. Neither did I. We talked about her firm first, then about Wyatt's terrible habit of sending emails with no subject line, then about the county line diner and whether its coffee qualified as punishment. It kept you awake, she said. So would gravel. She laughed into her mug. After a while, quiet settled between us, not empty this time, the kind of quiet that does not demand filling. Elena looked at the key, then at me. I don't want to make a promise just because you helped me through a bad night, she said. Good. You say that a lot when most men would be offended. Most men can work on themselves. That earned me another laugh, softer than the first. She picked up the key and turned it once in her fingers. I want to make one because tomorrow morning will still be real. And next week. And after the lawyers finish. And after everyone stops asking if I'm okay. I waited. She held the key out, palm open, not pressed into my hand, not used as a test. You don't have to take it tonight, she said. You don't have to use it. I just want you to know the door's not a crisis anymore. I looked at the small piece of brass in her hand. The night before, that same doorway had been a thread in a photograph. Now it was a choice. I took the key and placed it beside my mug, not in my pocket. Daylight, I said. Her eyes warmed. Daylight. On Friday evening, Elena asked me to meet her at the County Line Diner. The same booth was open. The same neon sign flickered red, then black, then red again. The same waitress poured coffee that had probably been bad before either of us were born. Elena sat across from me with rain on her jacket shoulders and a calmness that changed the shape of the room. No emergency tonight? I asked. No emergency. She looked at the window, then back at me. I wanted to replace the memory. The waitress set down 2 mugs. Elena added cream to hers. I kept mine black because some habits are not worth improving. She looked at my coffee and made a face. You know, if this becomes our place, we may need to bring our own. If we bring our own coffee to a diner, they may ask us to leave. Then you can negotiate. I do have experience with hostile environments. She smiled, and the neon caught in her eyes, warm instead of warning. For the first time, I did not count the exits immediately. I noticed the bell over the door, the truck driver at the counter, the rain sliding down the glass. Then I noticed Elena's hand resting on the table, close enough to reach, far enough to choose. She moved first. Her fingers touched mine, light and steady. No crisis, no deadline, no brother's shadow in the room. Just a red booth, bad coffee, and a door that opened only when someone chose to walk through it. The end.